Welcome back. We are now on Parshat Noach in the year 5786. The Torah opens with a vision of balance and unity. Zachar u'nekeva bra'am vayvarech otam vayikra et shmam Adam. Male and female he created them. He blessed them and called their name Adam. Make sure you see last week's Parsha to understand that more fully. In that first moment, the human being is one dual creation, not separate man and woman, but one essence, complete in its divine image. Yet only a few verses later, that balance begins to unravel. By Bereshit, chapter 6, verse 2, we read, Vayir'u bnei Elohim et bnot ha'adam ki tovat hena, vayikchu lahem nashim mikol asher bacharu. The sons of God saw the daughters of man, and they were fair. They took wives for themselves from whomever they chose. The language has shifted from creation to acquisition. What begins as companionship becomes possession. What began as mutual recognition becomes hierarchy. Ramban, Nachmanides, commenting on this verse, writes that Bnei HaElohim were the rulers, the nobles, the judges, those entrusted with moral authority and public justice. Instead, they abused their power. השרים והשופטים יקראו בני האלוהים, היו בוחרים להם נשים מכל אשר יחפצו. The princes and judges are called sons of God. They chose for themselves women from whomever they chose, whoever they desired. Rather than protecting society, the leaders corrupted it. The judges, Ramban, Nachmanides, continues, who were meant to enact justice became the perpetrators of injustice. So moral failure here is not mystical, but social. The collapse of equality that comes when those with power treat other human beings as property. The word Hamas, which the Torah uses to describe the violence that filled the earth, is not just thievery. It is the broader corruption of identity itself, of turning divine images into possessions. The dehumanization continues into the story of Noach. God instructs, Ata uvanecha v'ishtecha u'neshevanecha itcha. You, meaning Noach, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. When they emerge from the ark, the structure repeats. Vayetze Noach uvanav v'ishto u'neshevanav ito. No names, no voices, only where they fit within Noach's world. When human beings are nameless, they are interchangeable. The world that drowns beneath the floodwaters is one where individuality has been erased and relationship is replaced by survival. After the flood, the Torah turns to a new realism. Ki yetzer lev ha'adam ra minu'urav. For the inclination of man's heart is evil from his youth. This statement is not despair, but acceptance, that human imperfection is woven into creation. Rabbi Chaim David Halevi, who lived in 1924 to 1998, was the chief rabbi of Tel Aviv. He saw in this verse the very foundation of God's covenant with humanity. In Dat U'Maaseh, he writes, Nivra ha'adam im yetzer v'yicholet hachra'a kedei losif shlemut b'maaseh. The human being was created with inclination and with the capacity for choice in order to add perfection through his deeds. Imperfection is not sin, it is opportunity. Humanity's task after the flood is not to return to a lost Eden, but to build a new world, a world full of awareness of human frailty, one guided by moral will and compassion. That is why, after the generations of namelessness and hierarchy, we encounter a profoundly new beginning in Bereshit 11:29. Vaikach Avram v'Nachor lahem nashim. So Avram and Nahor took for themselves women. Shem eshet Avram Sarai, v'Shem eshet Nahor Milka, bat Haran, avi Milka v'avi Iska. The Torah's deliberate act of naming signals that the human story is being reset, this time not in anonymity, but in partnership. This time, the individual has a significant role and an identity. Abram and Sarai embody precisely what was lost before the flood: deliberation, faith, equality, and covenant. If Noach restarted the physical world through survival, Avram and Sarai restarted the moral world through relationships. Their story transforms mere preservation into purpose. Ramban sees the flood generation's collapse, rooted in the abuse of status and the erasure of personhood. Rabbi Halevi shows that God's covenant after that collapse accepts imperfection, but demands that humanity refine it into conscience. Together they show that a society's salvation lies not in its strength, but in its capacity to see the divine in each human face, to restore the lost names of creation. As the Torah moves from Noach to Lech Lecha, from nameless wives to Sarai, Milcah, and Yiscah, it invites us to start anew, to build a world grounded in mutual recognition, freedom, and dignity. Once again, Vaikra et Shmam Adam. God calls their name Adam because only when we see one another reflect the divine do we truly create a world fit to survive.